Well, unfortunately, GGS is coming off a loss here on the first day of week 2 of LCS. I'm joined right now by Inero with coverage brought to you by Alienware. Talk a little bit about the state of Golden Guardians as we head into the second week. So, unfortunate 0-3 for the team so far. And this is unfortunate in particular because of the expectations that were on the team going into this year. It felt like a lot of people were like, "Oh, GGS, new year." So, what I don't know. What do you think is going on? What's the issue?
I mean, for us internally, it's pretty clear what our issues have been, and we're working out how to transition kind of what we had going on in scrims near the start, and that kind of I guess that kind of like swagger we were talking about internally to make that show on stage. Things aren't as bad as they look. Starting off 0-3, I mean, we can't really blame it on anything but ourselves overall, obviously, but the solutions are pretty clear, and we kind of know the pathway to fixing it. So we're focused on that. We know we can get wins with what we're doing, and we know our team is very good. We just have to find a way to transition those little like scrim to stage nuances that exist and fix those up.
Yeah, does the team look good in scrims? Because that was one thing that I talked to all the like a lot of the players, and a lot of the players say, "Well, we've been scrimming GGS, or we've seen GGS, or whatever, and they should be really good." What is it? Just a disconnect between scrims and stage?
Uh, it's kind of what it's felt like. I mean, coming into this past week, the scrims were fine. We were focused more on like playing specific comps and trying to figure out how we play in scrims with this, and okay, like what do these plans look like that we're setting up for at the start of the game, and how does that feel, and how do we actually transition leads in these comps that other teams are playing, just to kind of get a better read on things. And yeah, in scrims we were doing great. Like when we first came in at the start, like back in December when everyone was starting out, we were smashing scrims all the time. Like we had way too many days that were like 5-1, 6-0s. Like we were just stomping the days. And I think stuff like that can be, it's good. It's good for confidence at the start, but it can also be a little bit of a bad thing if we don't know how to transition out of it. And admittedly, like with us trying to transition that into stuff that would actually be competitive, we didn't do a good job of at all, obviously. Otherwise, we'd be 3-0 right now instead, right? Um, so it's definitely like an eye opener, and I think that's something that's at least good for us on the staff side to figure out and figure out how we want to change that stuff up. But it doesn't mean anything bad overall. I mean, last year C9 was what at their start in the last split. It was pretty tragic, and they turned it around. So I mean, it's a 0-3 start, but regular season ultimately doesn't matter as long as you get into playoffs. So I mean, we're just focused on fixing these problems that we're aware of and making sure we're in playoffs.
What is your impression on the individual performance of the players? Do you think that the players themselves are competing at the level that they are in scrims and where they need to be? Or, I ask because sometimes it's hard to know if it's a team issue, a draft issue, a player issue, like what is holding things back on stage?
I mean, individually, I think all of our players are great. I think individually they can all do it. Most of the stuff is more of a, so when I say like those nuances of transitioning from scrim to stage, people tend to have issues or like differences, not really issues, but differences in how they communicate or play on stage in comparison to scrims. A lot of people are more loose in scrims, and when that environment is like openly like, okay, we're more loose on this, but when we go on stage and we play like a lot more reserved, it can lead to, okay, well these comps that work in scrims where you can hard snowball, they work in scrims, and then you go on stage and it's like, oh well, shit, we're not actually like forcing what we can, or like the other team is not playing as aggressive, so we can't punish as much, so you get like a bad read on things. um, and I think I can fall into that trap pretty easily, and stuff will feel good in scrims, and I'm like, oh hell yeah, I feel really confident in this. I think we can actually take that and run with it. And some of that stuff just doesn't work. And when we see that stuff not working, sometimes it's on the other teams playing a bit too slow, and it's different overall. And for example, for this stuff, I think it's on our side, us playing too reserved around what our actual win condition is to actually force it and enable it. So I think I can do a lot of changing up on what we're actually doing in terms of drafting stuff. Even though like last weekend we played different types of drafts in both games. We had more of a snowball comp and then more of the actual like team fight. Like, oh, we're playing a Galio comp like everyone else is running, right? But I think I can transition to doing more stuff like that. That's actually easily applicable to stage and force that, and we'll probably have like immediate success.
Now, with Golden Guardians this year, or sorry, maybe the split specifically, has the last three matches forced you to change expectations you had ahead of time? Because again, for a lot of people, I hear, oh, we expect Golden Guardians to be this. I remember I interviewed Danon, and he was saying that he felt like the team should be top five at the beginning and then move themselves to hopefully top three by the end of the split. Given the losses, do you feel like you need to have more conservative estimates for placing?
Uh, no. I mean, I haven't really cared about like the expectations that everyone else has on it. Like our expectations, anyways, when we built this, was that even though we weren't changing up about how much we were actually putting in to create the team compared to like last year, we were expecting better results, expecting to be in playoffs and pushing that as far as we can. But I mean, I'm not too worried about where we're going to end up in that or where like our current power ranking is. All of that doesn't mean anything at the end of the day, really. Like, just matters what we think of ourselves and how we can push our own identity, push our own personality into the game, and that'll transition to how good of a team we'll be. And I think we'll be great. I think we'll be a really good team overall. We just got to get over that hump that we found ourselves in, pretty much.
Now, the danger in these situations, especially when a team starts losing a lot in the beginning, is morale starts to tank or confidence or all these things, and it almost becomes like a downward spiral sometimes with certain teams. Is Golden Guardians at risk of that at all? I don't know what team morale is like behind the scenes.
And thankfully on our team, one of the things that we can actually do is manage that a lot better because our actual like management side of things is insanely good. Like it's the best setup I think I've ever had. And when you have that kind of backing behind you and have those people that are willing to put their own time and resources into helping fix things and finding their own solutions to keep the culture itself, the environment good, I think it's really hard to suddenly just like stumble into, oh, our morale's bad, like everything's crumbling behind us, like the world is ending. So with Dana and June, like everyone on that side, like behind us supporting it, I think it's really hard to fall into that. And with me and Jimmy talking about things, Jimmy's also great, by the way. Everything he's talking with us about the team.
Do you want to
culture
say who
side is great.
Jimmy is?
Jimmy's our two-way player coach, so we brought him on this offseason with me. Guy's great. Like he came from CMB, which is the Brazilian league, and or it was in the Brazilian league. The CMB is not the Brazilian league, but he came over with that. He's got a lot of like ideas and thoughts about how building team culture and stuff is really important. Which, for me, like I came into this as just a guy who played League of Legends. Like I don't have any like traditional background coaching experience. I've been in leadership positions my whole life, but never as a coach. So having a guy that has like actual traditional coaching background is great. Like I love to hear the stuff he talks about, and it's such a good learning experience for me overall. Yeah. So all of that together has been great, and I think it's gonna be a really good building block for us to build from.
What does that actually look like? Because you say things like, well, we've got all these amazing people here who are great at managing team morale.
Mm-hmm.
I think for a lot of people who are watching these interviews or watching the players on stage, they don't really know what that means. The joke I would make is I don't know if when you say like, oh, whenever morale starts to get, we've got these people that are great at, it's like, do you walk in the office? It's like, there's a bounce house here, everyone. We're starting off the week with a bounce house. Everyone get in a great mood, or like pizza party. Like I don't know how that actually ends up working.
No, I mean obviously having a bounce house would be pretty sick. Maybe I'll talk to Danon about that.
You're welcome.
But no, so I've been on teams before, and when everything is just kind of like bad structure wise behind it, when the game itself starts to go wrong, and you show up, and all of these little things that pop up are also just bad, the little things start to mean a whole lot more, and it's like, well, this is awful. Like we're losing, and this is bad. Like my life sucks. Everything's going downhill, and it's really easy for people to get depressed in that, right? But for us, like obviously the game side's like not going as good as it should be for us. But when we have all those little things covered for us, and like players don't have to worry about that stuff, players don't have to worry about all these like small things irritating them because we're covering that and those guys are covering it. It's like, okay, well, I just have this to focus on. I don't have to focus on these other things outside of the game that are like troubling me and bothering me there. So if I can focus on this and fix that, then my life is going great. So even though like this might be going bad for me, everything else is looking great. So I feel good, and that's what I'm talking about when speaking about stuff like that. Because yeah, when the little things behind the scenes are really bad, it's very easy for things to become really negative.
Yeah. What would an example of that be? Like something going bad, like somebody's car isn't working or their computer isn't. I mean, what are the things that kind of build up for players?
Well, I mean, to reference the past teams I've been on, when I was on Tainted Minds, man, just think those little things when
Yeah, those were not little things though, based off of the stories I've
a little
heard.
extra hot in your house and you're getting a little sweaty and it's like, whew, man. So things are going bad and it's hot outside.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that sucks.
Being in a 105-degree house is a little different, I think, than what I. That's not a little thing, right?
Yeah, I mean, just simple stuff is like, oh, I don't really know how to file my taxes.
Okay.
This is really bothering me. How do I file my taxes? Oh, these people like in my life that are on management side can't help me with that. this feels really bad. And then you start like stressing about it. And like after your games, you're like, okay, I have to go figure out how to do my taxes. I have to go figure out how to do just any number of small things like that, that for people that are working normally every day, you eventually have to learn this as you grow up as an adult. We get a lot of guys that come in to esports as like 17-year-olds. They don't learn any of this stuff. They don't learn how to deal with that. So it's just something that, hey, you have to do this, or the government's coming after you, and they're gonna get you for that, right? So having stuff like that covered is just super helpful, and never having to worry about it, never having to care about that is great.
Is there anything you would say to the general community, the people out there who are maybe skeptical about GGS's future or what they can accomplish this split?
To people that are skeptical of it, like, hey man, I get it. I was a fan of stuff. I completely understand being skeptical, but the environment and everything behind GGS is great. Like the infrastructure they have there, whether it comes now or later, it's eventually going to come, and it's so good. This is 100% far and away the best environment I've ever been in terms of like staff and setup and like group of guys as players. It's so good overall, and I know that that's going to turn into, an environment that's going to breed winning for us, and I'm unbelievably confident in it. And I was willing to hold off my other plans in life to stick with this and try to build this up with these guys. So hopefully, we can have the community behind us as well.
Well, thank you so much, Inero. Looking forward to see what GGS can do in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully a turnaround for the team. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things esports right here on my YouTube channel. Well, the skies here are beautiful today, but you know what they're missing? They're missing an aurora. But you know where you can get an aurora? Well, they're the new desktop. Actually, they're not. They have refreshed. They're the desktop that Alienware makes, including, they also make the Area 51. This is not going the way I'd planned it in my head before this outro, but the point is they've got some awesome desktops over at Alienware. There's a link in the description. You can upgrade your rig over there to get some cool performance, some awesome stuff going. Your games will look better, your frame rate and league will be better, everything will be better if you check out their stuff. Dell.com/Travis, link in the description below. That'll super help. Huni's walking over here in a second, so I gotta get out of here. Hi, Huni. Good luck today. Looking forward to seeing how things go. Oh, you don't need to worry about it? You used to be on Echo Fox. Oh, you don't need luck. Okay. Well, good luck. Thanks for being in my outro. There we go. That makes this interesting, I guess.